So earlier today, Senator Bernie Sanders announced that he is suspending his campaign for president. And almost immediately, Donald Trump made a pitch to his supporters. So now let me go to Twitter here. He says, Bernie Sanders is out. Thank you to Elizabeth Warren. If not her, Bernie would have won almost every state on Super Tuesday. This ended just like the Democrats and the DNC wanted, same as the crooked Hillary fiasco. The Bernie people should come to the Republican Party. Trade. All right, so I have some thoughts about this immediately. First things first, I believe that Donald Trump should go eat a bag of fake phallus-shaped objects. There is no way in hell I would ever vote for Donald Trump, right? I wouldn't, or anybody in the Republican Party. So I think I should be very, very clear about that. Okay, so what Donald Trump doesn't understand, or can't understand, refuses to understand, whatever, is that we don't support Bernie Sanders because of Bernie Sanders, right? No, we supported Bernie Sanders because of the policy. Medicare for all, Green New Deal, $15 minimum wage or living wage, and racial, social, and environmental justice, right? Economic, racial, social, and environmental justice. Okay? So the Republican Party, they stand for none of that. They are literally the anti-Bernie. So no, I'm not going to vote for somebody who doesn't support those policies. It's always been about policy. And so look, I understand that there are a lot of people who have caught feelings today. I've caught feelings, a lot of us, and there's a lot of anger. And there's a definite desire to punish the Democratic Party for, basically screwing over Bernie Sanders. I understand that there's that desire. I also understand that a lot of Bernie Sanders voters are not Democrats, never were Democrats to begin with. And so there's that, right? And so Bernie Sanders got those voters. Joe Biden and the Democratic Party are not going to get those voters. So understand when they come back later on, if Joe Biden sinks like the Titanic, right? Iceberg dead ahead. Well, we've been warning about the iceberg. We warned about the iceberg when it came to 2016, that election. And we see an iceberg now, right? It's the SS Joe is going to crash into that gigantic iceberg. And I don't know if there's anything that's going to be able to stop that. So understand, though, that when they come back and blame us later, when SS Joe sinks off the coast of Trump land, right? That Bernie Sanders, the Bernie bros, right? That there was those 10%, 12% of Bernie voters, whatever, that were never going to vote for Joe Biden to begin with. And that some, yes, like Joe Rogan, the apolitical center, we're never going to vote for Joe Biden, but we're willing to cross over to vote for Bernie Sanders. There was those Trump voters that were willing to cross over to vote for Bernie Sanders. Now he is no longer an option. Yes, he is still on the ballot. So understand, Bernie Sanders is still on the ballot in the next 26 states, right? Those primaries haven't happened. They will still happen. Bernie Sanders suspends his campaign, which means he could unsuspend his campaign, right? So there's that, right? So if you're somebody who is not in favor of Joe Biden, you live in New York, you can still vote for Bernie Sanders. He's still on the ballot. Bernie Sanders can still accrue delegates. But effectively he has suspended his campaign, not ended his campaign. He has not released any of his delegates. So, if you're going to vote for somebody, you can still vote for Bernie Sanders. And that's really up to you. I've already voted. Joe Biden was not going to earn my vote anyway. I think he needs to address the sexual assault allegations. His campaign needs to get some substance, needs to take some progressive policy positions. If not, you're not going to earn those voters who are not already Democrats. And so there's that, right? Right now, we're in unprecedented times. Tweaking Obamacare and maybe doing a public option is never going to be enough, right? Because coronavirus has laid bare the weaknesses of a for-profit healthcare system. Everybody can see the weaknesses, right? The weaknesses in this economy under business as usual, the so-called normal that Joe Biden wants to get back to, well, we already see the weaknesses in that. We cannot go back to that normal. We can't. It's look, normal is impossible. We cannot afford normal. And so I'm very concerned that voters who were swayed by that message earlier in the primary, hey, look, Joe Biden's a vote for normal. So we can go back to the Obama years, right? Well, look, that's not going to happen. I think they've made a terrible mistake. And so, but look, you have the primary that's effectively over. I am afraid that Biden's going to disappear. You're going to leave Donald Trump with control of the narrative in this election. And they've already shown that. They've already taken control of that narrative. The Republicans have. They've been talking about Biden's cognitive decline. You're going to have the media that's going to start talking about that. Mainstream media, because now that Bernie Sanders is, effectively suspended his campaign, they're going to turn their fire on Joe. You've got the credible sexual assault allegations from Tara Reade that he has not addressed, that his campaign hasn't addressed. And so that's the problem, right? Look, Trump's going to bring those up. He's going to bring up the sexual assault allegations. I can guarantee it. But you might say, well, wait a minute. Donald Trump has more sexual assault allegations against him. Yes, he does. Absolutely, he does. But the one thing that Donald Trump is missing is any kind of shame. He has no shame. And so he's going to attack Biden on those allegations. He's going to attack Biden on the cognitive decline, even though Donald Trump himself has his own cognitive decline. So we're basically in the worst case scenario position again, except now we have a global pandemic, which has kind of changed the game. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do know we're presented with that Hobson's choice again. We've got, the Democratic Party has to choose between a lesser rapist and a greater rapist. Oh, great. Wonderful. So that's what we have. And we have a repeat of 2016. And look, that's the unfortunate reality that we find ourselves in. We were warning you. We talked about this just like in 2016, and we are basically back to it. And so it's not a threat. It's a reality. There are Bernie supporters that will go and either not vote for Trump or, not vote for Biden and just not vote. Or there will be Bernie supporters that will go and vote for Donald Trump. And those supporters understand that they will not be vote shamed because they were never Democrats to begin with. And so I really wonder how Joe Biden is going to appeal to the ones, who are not Democrats. He's got to start really be willing to reach out and to have a message that will bring those people that were never part of the Democratic Party into the Democratic Party. And so, I don't understand what he's going to do now. I don't see how Joe Biden and his team don't understand that he has to do a major amount of outreach. We don't know. And that's what that's the scariest part of this entire thing is now it's basically the election is in Joe Biden's hands. And oh boy. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.